Okay. Okay, so I've cut out the bearing block and I've drilled the two holes for the frame and for the bearing. We can see that the bearing is going to just fit right in that hole like so, and the block is going to slide real nice and snug over the end of the frame material. Also rounded off the corner of the bearing block just for the heck of it, and you might have noticed that I had put masking tape over the bearing block so that I could mark the dimensions before I cut it. Pretty near impossible to draw on this material, but the masking tape makes it very easy to make those markings. Okay, I'm going to make the frame for the cart out of this 3/8 inch aluminum tubing. This is just tubing that you can buy at the plumbing department, any hardware store. It's very soft tubing, and what I'm going to do is just cut off 25 inches of this, mark it, cut it off with a hacksaw, and that's going to be the basis of the simple frame for the cart. Okay, we have our 25-inch piece of 3/8 inch tube. This will be the frame for the cart. I've gone ahead and put a piece of masking tape on the end here just so that I can mark it. And I've marked it for a hole 1/4 inch from the end of the tube, and another hole exactly 1.2 inches further than that. I'm going to drill a 5/32 hole at each of these locations, and that's going to accommodate the 632 by 1 1/4 machine screws that will attach it to the gearbox of the cart. Okay, the frame will mount to the bottom of the gearbox in the two holes that were not used on the bottom of the gearbox when we put it together. Those holes are a little bit smaller than the 632 screws. So what I've done is I've taken one of the wheels back off, and I'm just going to run our 532 bit through those holes so that we can accommodate these two machine screws. So I've drilled out the two bottom holes on the gearbox with the 5/32 bit. I've stuck the two machine screws through there, and I've put a nut on the front one. That's going to be a standoff just so that these two lugs align for the frame. Take the two holes in the frame, put it right over those two screws, and we'll just bolt it on like so. And with that bolted on, we can go ahead and sort of roughly get this frame into the shape that we want to support the bearing block at the aft end of the prop shaft. Just bend that by hand. And be a little careful not to kink it. Just nice smooth radius. So with the frame is bent more or less into shape, what we want is for that the aft end of the frame to basically come at that prop shaft at pretty close to a 90-degree angle, so that I can slide this. I'll slide this over the prop shaft, and I can just slide that real snugly onto the end of the frame. And if it's positioned correctly, the prop shaft should go right through the hole in the bearing block without touching. You want to make sure that there's no force on that prop shaft, and we'll be able to just slide the bearing right over the shaft and into the hole in that bearing block. So now we're going to take the GWS Slow Flight prop. This is a 15 by 7.5 inch prop, 15 inch diameter, 7.5 inch pitch, available at Tower Hobby or aeromicro.com. And I'm going to drill a 5mm diameter hole in the hub. The hub is much too small to go over our prop shaft. So I've got the 5mm hole drilled in the hub of this shaft, in the hub of this prop. I'm going to use a little bit more of my foam safe cyanoacrylate, foam safe CA, on the prop shaft here, and I'm just going to put the prop on there with the curved surface facing forward, Just put that on there like so, and we're going to have to let that set for a little bit. Alright, last thing to do on this cart is to put the tail wheel on right back here. I'm going ahead and put a piece of masking tape back here just to mark right around the low point of the frame. That's where we're going to go ahead and put the wheel. I'm going to use one of these Dubro 2-inch microlight wheels. These are available at Tower Hobbies or aeromicro.com again. Going to use some .062 music wire for an axle, and that's a little bit bigger than the hub here, so I'm going to drill the hub out to got a 5/64 bit. I'll drill the hub out with that, and I've got a 1/16 inch bit that I'm going to drill the frame out with. So we'll go ahead and drill the frame, put the axle through, drill the hub, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so I've got the wheel on here. The tail wheel is on there on our little .062 music wire shaft. The wheel comes with a couple of little plastic hubs that are molded right into that. So I cut the two hubs off with an X-Acto knife, drilled the hub out with a 5/64 bit, and I drilled both of the hubs out with a 1/16 drill bit. One of the hubs I then sliced the end off, and that becomes a spacer. So I put the hub on the axle. I've got 1.25 of this .062 music wire. Put the hub on the end of the axle, slide the wheel on, slide the spacer on, and then I just slide the whole thing through the 1/16 hole that I've drilled in the frame. Just a spot of the CA glue on the other side, and we're set to go. So the cart is completed, and I'm going to put it on the treadmill. Most likely when we first put it on the treadmill, we're going to find that it's going to steer left or right. It's going to sort of veer off the treadmill. The way to steer this is pretty primitive. We just grab the bottom of the frame, and we're going to bend it very slightly one way or the other, just so we're going to be turning that tail wheel to the left or right. And we can bend that until it steers straight. We want to be pretty careful. If we bend it enough that we end up with any load on the prop shaft, we want to go ahead and double check that, maybe push the bearing out, make sure that that prop shaft is just freely going right through the hole on our bearing block.